Rogers. I want to take this opportunity to thank God for this time. I am Wambi Moses Bifas, the regional chairperson, Busoga region. I want to take this opportunity to welcome all members on this ProDev of today, where we have to dig into details to know how we have to develop and score effective continuous assessment items, and also how we have to align them with the learning outcomes. Last time we had Mr. Kaziba Stephen talking about the foundations of the continuous assessment items. Yeah, we have him on part 2 to dig into how we have to develop and score these continuous assessment items. Without wasting time, I want to straightforward welcome Mr. Kaziba Stephen. We are grateful to have you again in this part 2 session. Please, sir, members are ready to hear from you, because this is a crucial aspect where currently different schools are on assessing learners in this continuous assessment items. And here is where many teachers are being left out, that they have not learned well how they have to assess learners. And I think this session will be a great session to the many teachers who are listening. So I want to take this opportunity and welcome you, Mr. Kaziba. You're welcome. Take on the session.
Thank you
Mr.
so
Kaziba,
much. Yes, I'm on. Hope you can hear me very well.
I can.
Mr. Wambi, are you able to hear me very well? Mr. Wambi?
Yes, I'm hearing you well.
Okay, thank you so much, dear moderator, and good evening, dear teachers and everyone on this call. I am humbled to be here to share with you on the journey of developing and scoring our continuous assessment items, or what we have termed as the observational checklist. My name is Kaziba Stephen, and I'm happy to be here this evening to share my knowledge, but also to listen in from what members on the call have as we collaborate to make learning more engaging and more meaningful. Last time, we started on the journey of developing the CAIs, and we say that the CAIs mainly assess the 2 domains that are usually left out in the final assessments. The CAI caters for the affective domain and the psychomotor domain. And we say that under the affective domain, we are looking at the heart. We are looking at the feelings of the children. We are looking at those things that require a lot of love, a lot of compassion, and that is what we call the affective domain. Then we went on and looked at the psychomotor domain, and we say that under the psychomotor domain, the child uses the mind to be able to do certain skills, or what we call the psychomotor skills. So it requires the child to use the hands to do something. And that's what we call the psychomotor domain. So the CAI assesses those 2 things, the affective and then the psychomotor domain. And that is where we are going to concentrate on when we are developing our CAIs. Now, we looked at the CAIs and we say that we have different levels, and there are basically 5 levels for each of those domains. We say that when it comes to the emotion bit of it, when it comes to the affective bit of it, always the first information we do receive that makes our first stage of development. So receiving is the first level. Then we go to responding, valuing, organization, and then lastly, what we call characterization, which means being part of it. And when we talk about affective domain, we mainly look or consider these these 5 levels of organization. So these are the 5 levels we consider under the affective domain. And the first thing always the learner must receive is the information. If you identify that this topic will require the affective domain, the learner needs to receive the information. If you're going to talk about, let me say, patriotism, if you're going to talk about valuing, if you're going to talk about pollution, it means that the learner must first receive the information. After receiving, you look at how does this child respond to the information. Then we look at the valuing. Does the learner value the information he or she has received? Then we look at how does the learner organize the resources he has within his reach to make meaning from the information he has obtained. And then lastly, we ask ourselves that now the learner has studied about moral concept. This learner has studied about electricity. This learner has studied about fraction, has studied about dimensions, he has studied about e-waste. How can he utilize that knowledge he has acquired from the different topics to be part of his life, that when he finds something, he or she can act accordingly? So that is what we call characterization. Characterization, someone is part of what he or she has learned and is able to implement it. And that's what you call the affective domain. Then we looked at what we call the second domain, what we call the psychomotor domain. And under the psychomotor domain, still we have the 5 levels, whereby we look at imitation. Imitation, you look at the teacher doing, and then you copy exactly what someone is doing. You are mimicking. In case the teacher is labbing the blackboard, the child will look at you. In case you are carrying on a practical, the child does exactly what you are doing. Then we said when we reach the manipulation, the child touches. The child here requires less instructions, but he can look at the instructions and he follows exactly the instructions you have given them. The practicals we have been doing in the past, they were only reaching the manipulation level, that learners were only following the instructions that were given to them. But now we want that these children, can they be able to generate their own instructions? Can they be able to generate their own procedures? Now there, it means that we need to go to the level above the manipulation level. That's why currently, when it comes to the practicals in science subjects, we want the child to be able to generate the instructions themselves. We want them to have those procedures set by themselves, because when something becomes part of you, that means you have naturalized. When something is part of you, you have done something over and over, over and over. You do not need instructions, but you just do it. It flows in its flow state. So something becomes very easy. You can notice that when someone masters how to cook, this person will not need he will not need the instructions that put this. Things just flow naturally. When you have learned how to drive, you don't need instructions. Things just flow naturally. And therefore, we do believe that if these children are exposed, if these children have a hands-on, these children can be in position to generate their own procedures, and they can be able to do these things on their own and generate the procedure. But they can only reach that level if we, the teachers teaching these children, we have taken them through all the necessary steps, that let them look at you doing something, give them the instructions to follow, withdraw the instructions, and then let it be part of their lives. That's why whenever you're handling a topic that requires the hands-on skills, we do encourage that let these children touch, because we know very well that whenever you touch something, it is not easy for you to forget. So we want the children to be able to touch, such that they can be able in the future to generate their own procedures. Now, this is what we looked at briefly, and it is from against this background that now we are going to deal on with a good CAI, and that is where we are heading. What are the components of the CAI? A CAI mainly contains or has two things, has a scenario or what you call a context or what you call a situation, and then it has a task. But when it comes to a scenario, what do we look at? A scenario that you set, it can be in form of a text. A scenario or a context or situation can be in form of a video. It can be an extract. You can get a speech that has been made. Take an example. In English, this term, we are looking at patriotism as one of the topics that we are supposed to assess. You can look out for an extract where Sako is talking about patriotism. Then you bring that article to the children to read. That is at the receiving level. Let them first receive the information. After receiving, ask them, what can you tell me, can you deliver this speech exactly the same way? And then tell the children, can you add in this and this and this? Now that is now having an extra. It can be an article you can pick from the newspaper. Now this is where now it is important that schools now should start now accessing newspapers, maybe Daily Monitor, New Vision, whatever and whatever, such that those articles you get from the newspapers can be used in the teaching and learning. You have noticed that in newspapers, many times they write about different articles. Recently, you have seen, I think it was in New Vision, where they were writing about drug abuse. But still this term in biology, it is a topic that requires children to have knowledge on drug abuse. So you can come up with that extract from the newspaper, that article, and then the children read through, and then from there they pick the learning points that you can build on. It can be a write-up. As a teacher, you can come up with a good write-up that you can read through, and then they get the idea. However, when we are looking at the text, the video, the extract, the article, the write-up, you need to ask yourself, is it realistic? Is it clear? Because sometimes we over-imagine things, but they are not realistic. So we need to ask ourselves, is it realistic that I'm going to give these children? Then the second component is what we call a task. A task will learn, display the required skill. Remember, all the CAIs that we are developing, there is a certain skill we want the child to attain at the end of the day. It can be a communication skill, it can be creativity, it can be innovation, it can be mathematical, it can be research skills. So that task must be able to guide the child to attain that particular skill, be it a generic skill we want the child to be able to get. So when you are setting a task, at the back of your mind, ask yourself, will the child be able to acquire this particular skill that I am looking at attaining? Why? Because when you look at the CAIs, when you look at the observation checklist, you are going to find out that in the observation checklist that you are going to receive, always there is a task that requires this learner to do something. But in this observation checklist, there are specific skills we are looking at that this child must be able to obtain when you set this particular activity. Take an example. When you read here that for this particular one, we want the child to be able to attain the mathematical computation and the ICT proficiency. Now ask yourself, when I set this activity, will the child be able to attain those skills? Now, that is where now we need to ask ourselves, which activity will lead me to have my child achieve this particular skill? In case I'm talking about geography, that there is a certain skill we want to attain, that maybe it is ICT, maybe it is mathematical computation. When you look at English, ask yourself, which skill? Now take an example. When you look at English, here we want the child to be able to exhibit communication skills. That means that when you are setting a task, ask yourself, will this child be able to communicate? This is the time whereby it is not only paperwork. We look at paperwork, we look at also the ability for the child to communicate. Communication can be on paperwork, but now here you ask yourself, how will the learner show that now he knows how to communicate? Now, communication skills has 13 skill steps that we must take these children through. So now you ask yourself, at which level is this child on? So the child must be able to speak, must be able to sign on the information. So we do expect that as you are planning the CAI to the scenario, this activity, you look at the skill that the child must be able to exhibit at the end of the day. Be it even mathematics. Even if it is mathematics, you ask yourself, which skill do we want this child to attain? An example here, we are looking at creativity and innovation. You ask yourself, which activity will bring out this particular skill? You will notice that if someone has to be creative and innovative, this is where now the teacher will look at the learning outcomes, that I want the learner to be able to apply Pythagoras theorem in 3 days. Can I create something that will require the learner to think outside the four-wall classroom, to think outside the box, such that we can be able to attain those particular skills? Now, that is where we are going to go, and that is the direction we are taking. Now, as we are taking this direction, we need to ask ourselves, what do we consider when we are developing the CAI? There are basically 3 things we look at. Number 1 is the topic. A CAI is guided by the topic in the syllabus. Whenever you get your syllabus, whenever we have our syllabus, we need to look at the particular topic. The CAI, we are supposed to develop them basing on what UNEB requires for that particular term. Not, there are topics that we can easily assess, but there are some particular topics that have been extra by for us to look at, such that we can be able to assess the different domains. Now, the topic we look at, many times the topics that have been selected, if not all the topics that have been selected, have real life application. As a teacher, always ask yourself that I'm going to handle the topic of 3 dimensions. I'm handling a topic about applying for a job. I'm handling a topic about light. I'm handling a topic about this and this. Where does this topic manifest in? Where can I find it in real life being used? Now, when you as an individual dealing with this particular topic, you come to understand the aspect where you can use this particular topic, then it means you are going to be in position to set a good scenario to be used when you're assessing your children, because this topic should guide you. You need to look out for the real life application where this particular topic can be used. When you are talking about patriotism in real life, where have you seen this happening? In case you are talking about in geography, you are talking about population. Where have you seen population things work out? Recently, UBOS was conducting a population census. Can you obtain those videos when people are being counted? Can you extract the report that UBOS published? Can you extract that information? Can you get those pictures whereby the people were counting people? Now, that means you have understood the real life application of the particular topic. Now, you look at that topic you are going to assess. Ask yourself, where am I going to apply? I always become happy when a child asks me, but teacher, you are teaching me this and this. Where am I going to apply this in real life? How can I earn from what I'm learning? So as a teacher, always have that self-reflection. Before you enter class, before you teach this particular topic, also ask yourself, for this topic, where do I use it? Take an example. In case you are teaching, let me say in math, you are teaching about quadratics. Ask yourself, in real life, where do these things exhibit? Because now in real life, if I'm to set a CAI, maybe take an example, I'm setting about quadratics, I'll ask myself, I have been seeing people in the pitch kicking balls. That is quadratics. A ball goes up and then it comes back. It has traced out a curve. when you look at the different shapes you have been seeing shapes of this nature. Some people are constructing gates of that nature which have a curve. Some of us at home, we have those that are curved. When you go to some areas, you'll find things of this nature. Now that means you are teaching this child about curving, and you are talking about the knowledge of quadratics. So we want to see, can these children and you as a teacher be able to look out for those particular topics, such that when you are building the concept, because in the CAI, we develop from the simple to the side the task. So we look at from the simple part that kicking a ball is at one level. When I kick a ball and it goes past maybe a given hole, can be another aspect. So you look at how can you make the task to move from a simple part of it to the difficult part of it. But when you are taking the child from one application to another. Secondly, we look at the competence. Competency, we are looking at what skills does this child obtain. Competence, we are looking at the skills. What can the child be able to do when he or she goes through the topic? When I have gone through the topic of applying for jobs, as a teacher who is handling English, can this child be able to apply for a job? If the child cannot be able, then it means you as a teacher, you have not done your job very well. What went wrong? Then you have to go back to the drawing board. What can the child do with the knowledge he has acquired when studying that particular topic? We do expect now that in case it is this term, that's now someone who has gone through applying for jobs. He can write an application letter. This child can express himself. He can speak. Because when you look at the competency for English, this term, I go back, when you look at the competency for English, it means that a topic is applying for a job. What do we want this child to be able to do? This child must be able to speak or signs information. Ask yourself, when this person has applied for the job, has presented himself or herself for an interview, can he be able to speak? Now, this is where I expect all the English teachers to have a session, to conduct a session whereby children apply for jobs, come with the application letters. We say, today we have a group of 5 children. And what is our task? Everyone must write an application letter. Then as a teacher, what are you going to do? At the first level, you are going to ask them, you know what, dear children? Right, you go and extract an information that maybe this particular company has maybe announced vacancies in this particular field. Let everyone come with a written application letter. Then let these children come when they have the application letters, and then look at the application letter, guide them, and let them present themselves for a job interview. Then when they present for a job interview, then have a panel of different students. Let these students sit down, and then let the students be the panelists to ask these children a question, ask the other one a question, ask a question, the way we conduct it on interviews. Then it means that now the child, by the time the child finishes this particular activity, he or she will be better. And that is we expect you to be able to assess the children. So we expect that let us look at those aspects, not only look at the class. Then number 3 are the learning outcomes. The learning outcomes will always guide you on what to do or what is expected at the end when you have carried on the activity. Take an example. This is English. We expect that they are able to present themselves well for job interviews. So now here, as a teacher, check out how will they dress. Now, I expect now here for schools that allow children to have different wear like clothes on Sundays. Let the child present herself the way he would have presented herself when going to interview. Look at the body language. When this child stands in front of others, how does he position himself? That is body language. The child is communicating. Then look at how do they present themselves verbally. Ask a question. I've said that you'll have now. This is maybe a chair in front. Then you have a panel of different students, maybe 3 students, to ask or to fire questions to this particular child. Let this person fire a question. Let this one fire a question. Ask them, tell us about yourself. What are your qualifications? And then check out, how does the child communicate verbally? How does he express himself? Then that means you are looking at that particular skill. Then number 3, you look at ask for clarification and let you check out the emotion bit of it. How does he handle himself? So you are looking at the different learning outcomes that must be achieved. And therefore, if you do that as a teacher, it means that at the end of the day, the child to speak and you would have achieved the communication skills. If I go to another subject, take an example I am in. This is geography. And this term in geography, we are expected to be handling population organization. Africa, ask you, what are the key learning outcomes? Or what is the learning outcome? The learning outcome is the ability to use statistics and graphs to show rapid urban development. Ask yourself as now a geography teacher, can I go to maybe UBOS to obtain statistics on how Uganda is developing? Because remember, here the question or the topic is about Africa, but we have to start from what? From known to unknown. Let's start within Uganda. Show those different areas in Uganda with different population and urban setting. Let the child be able to see those different graphs and how they present themselves. You remember very well, whenever the president was going to communicate, he always had to use a graph to show us different stuff. Now, and the different tables from Uganda, from East Africa, move to Africa. So the tables showing the different statistics and check out, can this learner be able to extract that information? Does he understand the different statistics? When he sees the different figures, whereby maybe in brackets they have put 1,000, does he know what it means? Does he know where in on the graph, what shows that this area is densely populated? So you are looking at TV, a graph, maybe from newspapers, from the websites and the rest of that. Can this child be able to interpret that geographical information and make meaning from it? And what does it when density rapid development? Of what use is it? What benefit could that be? But you notice that this child makes some mathematical computation. Now, under mathematical computation, we are looking at, can this child be able to draw those graphs? Can he be able to interpret the different graphs he or she has drawn? Then ICT proficiency, we are looking at, can he use the ICT tools, maybe to search for given information? In case you have given them a task, can he go online and search about the different statistics, how we are doing currently? Now, there you are looking at achieving the learning outcome and being able to develop. When we go to the chemistry, when you look at chemistry, look at the different learning outcomes that we do want to achieve. Ask yourself, children, or do the children or the task I'm bringing on board able to capture these ones? Ask, what do the questions want? That this child should be able to recognize and appreciate what we call endothermic and exothermic reaction and understand how substances are stored, chemical. So you look at the learning outcomes. Then after looking at the learning outcome, they should guide you on which task you should set, which scenario need to suit. However, when you look at the competency, now here, When you look at the competence, the competency is an investigative competence. What does it mean? Something that is negative, we expect you to be able practical. So anything that is okay. Any is investigative in nature, that is where we draw, that's where we draw the purpose. So we expect that when you read your CAI and you get to know that what I'm dealing with is an investigative competency, that's where we do the practicals. So we know that now under this CAI, I need to look at the practical on chemical reactions, to look at a practical on chemical reaction, and I show all the learners go through how energy changes take different chemical reactions. Now here, we expect that you are going to take the child from the first step of observing what to do on until when he or she masters. So a practical that expect when it comes here. So that is how we are supposed to carry on. In case it is math, looking at being able to apply Pythagoras theorem in 3Ds. So mean that here when you are setting that scenario at the first level, you look at, does the question that I have set, the task, help the learner theorem? The task I have said, can the scenario, does it reflect an aspect where a child must angle between a line and a plane? Then does the task have this child being able to identify or to find an angle plane? It means that at the first level, you may first look at the learner being able to apply 3Ds. When you go to the second, you this learner being able to an angle, and then you look at the learner being able to get an angle between two planes. When you reach at the fourth level, two of them combined. You reach the third level, bring all the three combined. And then that means that the learner would have reached the naturalization level. That is how that these tasks to move from one level to another. But from every level, this moves so back until the child is good at what he or she is doing. In other words, when the child is outstanding, when the child is exceptional, when the child is excellent. So that is where we expect us to move from one to another. So that is about when it comes to learning outcomes. Should be guide you thoroughly as you set your tasks, as you come up with a scenario that you are going to have this do. Now, for this term, what are we looking for? Take an example. When you look at these topics, I looked at the topics in senior 3. This is senior 3. When you look at senior 3, you notice that this term, we are looking at patriotism. In English, there is relationships and emotional learning. But what are those particular skills, learning outcomes for outcomes? Now, when you are setting, you need to have everything here captured. But at the end of the day, we want the child to be do. The child must be able to speak. Now you ask yourself, will the child be able to speak? When I'm looking at history, then I need to know that appreciate the learner must be able to appreciate the need to respect human rights. We are going into politics very soon. Do you have something about it where people are violating human rights or where and then now what put on the table? Do you have any is talking about human rights in Uganda. Human rights. Can you call a guest speaker to talk about human rights? Now that's where you are research. Ask yourself, which person is good that can talk about human rights? That person, let that person deliver the information. After delivering, ask the children, write what you learned. Then from there, ask them, you deliver each the same way the other person did. So that is how we are supposed to develop, such that these children have everything. So when you check out those people who attended our last session, by now, I do expect that whenever you see the word appreciates, whenever you see the word appreciates, domain we are going to deal with is an affective domain, meaning that the child must first receive the information before he goes on to respond. Then look at biology. At biology, we are looking at nervous coordination in humans. But what are the key learning outcomes? The child must be able to understand how to prevent, control, and avoid substance and drug abuse. What can you do? You want this child to know about these things. As a teacher, you may not have experience. You have seen very many articles being written about this. Pick that article, let the child read the article. Pick that video that talks about, go to YouTube, check out that particular and put it on the table such that these children can be able to watch and see what happens. Then at the end of the day, the child would have attained the competency on drug abuse and substance abuse. They are using drugs, but because they have limited information, they have shallow knowledge on it. So they have shallow knowledge. So as look out for that information, and have the information, then from the first level to the last level. If it means showing them how these drugs look like, how these substances look like, then bring them to their attention such that they can be able to learn in the process that this and this is bad, such that they can know the different negative consequences of using those particular drugs and abusing. You have seen NTV last month was running things concerning drug abuse. Can you bring those clips and put them on table? New Vision last month had on abuse, drug substance, how children in schools are abusing drugs. Can you bring Butabika Hospital last month still wrote something concerning drug abuse, and how they are receiving very many children struggling with drug abuse. Can you get a guest speaker from one of the rehabilitation centers to come and talk to the children about this drug abuse? Can you get someone who has ever been involved in the drug substance abuse and bring them to school to talk to these children? Then after, ask them from this. Children write about it, and then from there you are building the knowledge, and later on they would have attained the competence. When you look at senior 4 this term, this was senior 3. When you look at senior 4 in Sarah E, we are going to be looking at justice, and I told you that whenever you find an action up, then it means that the domain we are going to deal with is an affective domain. Now if we are looking at in society, can maybe where justice is being exercised? Can't we even within our community, within the class? From the class, you build it from the class, and even to talk about the justice bit of it. Look out for those articles. So that is what you call justice. In geography term, we are looking at population and population. Look out for statistics. Extract the data from newspaper, from different websites, different sources, and have that information brought to the children. When it comes to chemistry, we are looking at dynamic reactions. Let's look for those. Let's get that data. Let's bring those things such that the children can be a practical about chemical reaction. That whenever you find investigative, it means you have to design a practical that is going to move the children from the first up to the last level of navigation. That is the energy changes, and this is what we have to do in senior 4. But in the process of doing all these things, go back to the drawing board, check out the learning outcomes, what to achieve, and then look out what should the children be able to do at the end of the activity that you have administered to them. Now, when we are developing a CAI is shown here, that a CAI is development kind of activity. We must move from one stage of growth to the last stage up to when these children have the fruits or when the fruits spread. Expect the kind of activities you are going to follow. They are going to follow a ladder portion of it. They are going to be elevated from the start up to when these children now can be able to do certain things on their own. So the first stage will always be an easy stage, depending on the level. Then as time goes on, you start complicating until when these children, that even if you twist an activity, they can be able to do. That's why sometimes we keep wondering that the children, you given them at the naturalization level, all schools, you find them giving them five everywhere. But when it comes to practicals doing this course, if it is the same practical, you find that this child, even his or her own procedure. Ask yourself, did the school forge the marks? Did the school forge the scores, or something didn't go on well? Because we expect that a child reached a characterization level, be a characterization level, this person can be able to do something, even if you have just got this child out of bed, because this child has mastered. Many of us, there are some topics we have at the naturalization level, that even if they call you from your bed, you can be able to deliver to panic. So now that is what going to follow a linear growth. It is not something that the children are going to do within one day. It will take time, from 1 week to 2 weeks, till when skills are developed. How developed? When studying the very different ways you can do it. Number one, it can be in form of video. Sometimes you have a video played to the children. Take an example. I have my video. This is one videos I can bring. You look at this video.
Kumbe buli yayita ku luguudo lw'entebe alina okugiraba oba okugisinkana. Eno nga kika kya Nisaani, embeera mu eyo omuntu kyayinza okuba nga yagivuga. Nayita mpulira mu
yes.
Kati eno ng'enjogera bw'eri.
Yes, so it can have a video out the video that you think can be relevant to the context or the topic you are dealing with. In case it is not, you need to check out what else can I do. In case I'm a science teacher, this may not have. Can I come to FET and check out what practical can I do through demonstration, and then the children do. And this is at the manipulation level, whereby you may not touch the instrument. You sit, tell them, handle the pendulum bob, get this, and the other. Then they let the children come. You can even just come here and then start searching that what do you want? That I want a practical about this. Can you use simulation as a teacher? You can use the questions and then have the children do as they see what are doing. Science. Look out for different simulations you can use. Look out for different videos you can pay for. You can even just come here on internet. You put you are going to teach about maybe patriotism. Just type, then check out for those different articles that talk about patriotism. So you will notice that there are very many articles concerning patriotism, the National Secretariat, Honorable Seco, and the rest of that. They have been talking about drug abuse. You are dealing in biology. Check out about drug abuse. And then you can even be specific, say in Uganda. And then you'll find different articles being written about this. So the different things concerning drug abuse. You can even see here new about the silent epidemic of drug abuse. You can pick this article. You can pick this article, and then recently I think I also talked about drug abuse. You can come here and then search. I don't know when it was, some time back, I talked about what? Drug abuse. Come here, search, and then you'll find out the different articles that they have written about the drug abuse. Come to YouTube, check out that in case I go, can I have those different? So this is how we are going to be administering the CAIs. It's not just about writing articles, doing this and the other. Come check about the different things, have different videos. I hope you all can support to administer your CAIs so you can add it through. It can be, and look out for those particular that I've written about maybe drug abuse. Look out for those particular about chemical actions that people have up with. Go on, look out for different materials to on and check out quite a lot, and then you'll be able to. So there is a lot that we can do if we can put in research as teachers and come up with good resources that during the administration of this. Now, this is patriotism. So you can look out for these articles in the newspaper. In case you are talking about, I was still checking out. So I was talking about abuse. And check out, and here even I demonstrate abuse we have in the rest of that. So you can check out those different things. We will look out for the different side effects. So there is a lot that we can achieve, know how to administer. How does the CAI we are talking about look? This is an example of one of the CAIs using the affective domain. Remember, we have different ability levels, but I told that we have basically 5 ability levels. This tuition, we have said, under receiving, the child must first get the information. For that thing related to what you want this child to talk about, extract it. Then after extract, you want the child to respond to it, to react about it. Then valuing means the child must appreciate, demonstrate the particular he has been able to learn. In case that reactions and the rest, let the child be able to appreciate what he or she is doing. Then look at how does this influence what the person is doing. And then lastly, look at the characterization. Now, of some of the things we can do when developing. And this is you can pull out the article. You can come with newspapers. You can scan that newspaper, photocopy the papers, and give them to the children to be able to do it. This is another one that we can. So quite a lot that we can do. In cases for psychomotor domain, we want imitation. Child has had a speech from somewhere. This child has had an activity. Can this child be able to do? Remember, in science, child copies exactly, mimics what the teacher is doing. We are looking at the but for less instructions. This is where now the child is comfortable. Last time I used an analogy of driving, that at the passenger may, or the co-driver may look at this driver driving. After that, this person will go on the steering wheels and he tries to drive. Then time will come when this person can drive without the senior driver sitting in the car. Time will come at one point when this child can enter the road to on own. Then time will come that this child has become so competent in driving that even he does not need, even he puts on music when he's, even he can put a leg, what, he can do anything without any challenge. So that is the naturalization level. So these are some things we do as to do have. In case I'm in science and maybe I'm looking at the physics and I'm looking at the practical, I'm going to ask myself, what kind of tasks do I need to? This is the task I can set in case it is an investigative nature of, can the learner be able to carry out investigation? Then me moving from the point where this child can set out is on where the child does the practical, then time up to the time when the child can do it, any instruction, and later on the child comes up with that. You can keep on adjusting. Take an example in physics. In case you have given this child of focal length 10, the next time you can change and give him of 15, move from one level to another. At another level, you can give him a length, adjusting on what you are doing. That is keep on. But in each of the stages, there are things we do. Some is that information level generates and writes of the experiment, can generate an hypothesis, can carry out that investigation, can be able to identify the apparatus. So for whatever level this child is moving, things keep on differing. The demand keeps on what? Changing from one level to another. Manipulation, that means he can generate and write the aim on their own. So you look at and the different demands that they require this child to do. Means, be it even in biology, that is what we do expect to have. The different tasks depending on the experiment this particular child to do. So a complete CAI, we expect it to look in this format, whereby you have already specified the kind of class, the subject, the topic, the learning outcome, and then the different this child can be able to do. So that is what we do expect. How do we score these CAIs? When we are scoring the CAI, one, we do expect that as a teacher, to give the first scenario for the first activity, you are going to come back on the drawing board and ask, now we are at the. Remember, this is something you don't do within one day. This is an activity that can fix as you keep on observing and advance. And in case you have got this particular, we expect you to come, can be this. Go on, pick that particular thing, tick. That now the child is you. So we expect you to keep on as the child progresses from one level to another. Still the same thing has happened. Come that now the child here can state the what? The aim of the experiment. That the child here, let me reduce this. That the child here can be able to state the hypothesis. able to do this. The child can be able to do this. The child can be able to do this. Now, anything that the child cannot be able to do, please, dear teachers, do not mark it. Mark only the things that you are comfortable that the child can do. Then you count. How many ticks do we have here? That I have 1, 2, 3, 4. That means that an object you put the child has 4. Then you continue to the skills. Can the child use numbers? That yes. Can he use this? Yes. What about technology? The child is still struggling. Then you come here, you say subject competence is 4, and here it is 2. And then you go on like that as you move from one level to another. So you keep on marking, you keep on grading depending on what. Then time is going to come when things have become very easy for him, whereby even he's getting everything. So we expect you to do your scoring in that direction. And how best can we administer these CAIs? Now, the best way to do administer is through teamwork. Like I've told you, in case you have 100 students, do you think you'll have time for each individual child in your class? Time may be there, but will you be able to complete? Now, that is where now the dynamics come in, whereby we expect you as a department, say a physics department, you are going to sit down and say, now this is physics. I'm going to sit down and have my team of physics physics teachers that on this particular day, I'm going to go to class, maybe senior 5, maybe senior 1B, and then I'm going to go to one senior, and admit this particular CAI. Go as 4 people or 5 people, sit down, observe these students. Say that you say maybe in the department there are 6 teachers. If we are 6 teachers, we can observe maybe 100 the children. But you say 10 teachers, and we say this, we are looking at level 1. As a department, you observe this doing this, then your teacher, like it or may not be able to effectively observe all the children. You may not, even if you have a lot, unless you have just one class, 100 children, and that's the only class you handle the whole school. We are to be effective and have personal, then we must work as a team. The children must observe, collaborate, as the teachers are collaborating to, because it requires an individual touch, individual person being able to see these children in person, such that you know that this child may be X, this child X, and then we hope them to become better in whatever thing are handling. So that is how we expect to do. So for whatever level you go, we expect that you are going to come, mark this can do, and then them accordingly, keep putting a mark, use your red pen, put a mark, and then after you write here, that now those 6 you write. Then for genetic skills that the child has been able to demonstrate, then you write here that is 3. And then you continue like that, until when you finish the activity. So we can, guys, I know it's time, so allow me to stop here and hand over the microphone to the moderator. Thank you so much, Mr. Wambi.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Kaziba Stephen. It has been great. The session has been good. At least you have tried to elaborate and within the time. So we began a bit 15 minutes past 8, and therefore almost we are still within the time. However, to me, you have been elaborate. I've learned a lot of things where we have been doing, and this shows that this observation is something that is a process, not just a one-day thing. Towards the end of the term, then you jump in. So I've learned a lot, even teamwork. I think teamwork simplifies, because last time I struggled with time I struggled with the observation checklists. So at least to give in the so like, so that we can have Mr. Kaziba to open the forum for members to react.
Yeah, members, you can put up your hand in case you want to say something. I think we may give like one or two people. Because of time, we may give like 2 or 3 people, and then I can wrap up. So in case you want to say something, this is the time you can put up your hand. Mr. Kaziba, you can also go in the chat and see if there are any who have put any feedback in the chat. Someone can type something if there is any supplement or any comment you want to say. Then Mr. Wambi, you want to get back.
Yeah,
I don't
still
see.
waiting on. People in the chats are just appreciating and showing how they have learned. Yeah, good. At least we can see that there has been something that has been done, but still we are waiting for more questions if there are questions.
Mr. Wambi, maybe
Now,
if there are no questions,
yes, maybe
you'll invite.
There are no questions. Yes.
If there are no questions, I think we can conclude.
If there are no questions, I want to specifically ask you, Mr. Kaziba. I have seen a challenge of this checklist or this CAI requiring a teacher to have maximum time for research about the areas has to develop the CAI, and not just from the other time that we used just to come out, but you have to have resources like articles, texts, where you have to follow up the current affairs, that you can develop items or texts from maybe current affairs, videos you have to download. So yeah, we see a challenge of teachers who are not digital. And now this calls every teacher in whatever aspect, in whichever area you are, to come on digital. It is now understandable that a teacher who doesn't know ICT, please, you're behind. When we learn about this, to bring out the real teaching that is based on the new secondary curriculum, then we have the ICT. However, I have seen a challenge of now time to bring out those aspects mentioned in the lessons. You'll say that you'll need to plan and budget very well your time to have these sessions done. Even Mr. Kaziba himself has mentioned about conducting this CAI that needs teamwork. So this is something we should now sit down in the department and plan. I don't know what Mr. Kaziba you can say more about time, because I feel so needs planning, but still a challenge about time in handling this CAI checklist thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, moderator. Like you have mentioned, that in order for us to be able to do better with the CAIs, proper planning is key. So if we are to observe these children, schools need always to look at the topic for that particular term. You look at the CAIs, you look at the topic, you name one, such that when you are drawing your syllabus plan, that topic, if possible, bring it a bit closer, such that you can handle it progress as these children are progressing through the term. Then schools also, in order for us to effect it better, schools need to give time. Like there are certain things, activities that school have now, like time for practicals. Time that schools do put for practicals can work very well for us to have these CAIs embedded in those sessions, because you have this time practical Saturdays for only of that. But if we plan that time for practicals, that is when the teacher can conduct his first assessment at the imitation level. Then the teacher keeps on from one level to another as a team, such that we can minimize on the maybe the time loss, because many times we may find ourselves moving. Like I've said, the key point to be work and good planning. I do submit.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Kaziba, for this session. I have seen a lot of appreciations from different people. They are appreciating your presentation, and many maybe who were inconvenienced by network are asking to have a better time of conducting this. But this, we found that this is the correct time for conducting this. Only what you can do, you can have the recordings by our technical personnel. Rogers, he records and sends back. So you can have your own time, get proper network, then tap in, then you listen if you missed out somewhere by network. Otherwise, we are so grateful for this session. I now want to invite, I don't know whether Madam Auma is on, or Rogers, you can guide me. Yes, one Rogers?
Yes, Madam Mama is on. Maybe she can give us a few announcements.
Yeah, I want to call upon her. Madam Auma, you're welcome. It has been so great. You can see even the chats. It has been so great for today's session. You're welcome, Madam Auma.
Thank you very much, Mr. Difasi. Thank you for moderating this program. I want to give a big gratitude to Mr. Iwa for accepting to squeeze this valuable time to give us this hint on the CAIs. You know, CAIs has been a very big challenge. It is still a challenge up to now, where teachers have been forging scores and sending to UNEB simply because they didn't understand how to go about it and how to give the scores. That is why I'm giving a very big thank you to Mr. Kaziba. I am very sure the session has changed the many of us who had time to attend, and I kind of want to keep on calling us to come on for this ProDev, because once you attend, you walk away never the same. Members, I just have a few announcements to make. I want to be very grateful to all the regions who have already participated in science innovation projects. Uganda Professional Science Teachers Union is also running a project on science innovation. So far, we have completed competitions at Central Region. We did last Saturday at Eastern Region. And this Saturday, the 12th, we are all moving to Western Region. The project competition will take place at Umbara Secondary School. And in the last Saturday of 19th, we shall be in the northern region. So I would like to request all the teachers who are concerned, preparing learners, that we need to keep time. We come a little early when it is our day, so that we are able to do quite more. And I would like to also invite those ones who still have interest. I'm receiving many calls and asking why don't I bring? I want to say that next time will be better. When you send out information, please follow it and ask as many questions as possible so that you're guided and you don't miss out. This is the only announcement I wanted to make, and I want to wish everybody a good night. See you again next Thursday with a similar topic, very insightful one, from 8 to 9 p.m. Thank you very much. Back to you, the moderator.
Thank you so much.
Unless Rogers
Thank
has
you so
someone
much.
else. Rogers, do you have anything?
Thank you so much, Madam Uma.
No, it's okay. That is sufficient for today. I think we can close.
So grateful for Madam Uma and the moderator and the technical man, Rogers. We thank God for the listeners and who have tapped in. I beg
Maybe
now. Yes.
Sorry for interrupting. I can see someone's comment here that I joined late and could not. This is from Maureen. Maureen, you're most welcome. Joined late. You can always, all these discussions we have on ProDev are uploaded on our YouTube link. You can follow it up on oopstu.org, and then you find which one you want to re-listen to, because it's important that we re-listen to and you get to understand what it is. Maybe at first presentation you have not understood, but at your free time you can do that. So let's encourage yourself to visit the YouTube channel and you pick on topics that have already been discussed. We usually upload them there. That's the announcement I wanted to add. Thank you. Yes, Difasi.
So grateful. Has been guiding. Yeah, has been guiding. Many people ask that question. Good answered. When you miss out this session, you can go find us on YouTube. I want to thank God for this session and thank everybody for being part of this session. And I want to take this opportunity to adjourn this session until next Saturday. Thank you so much. God bless you.